It felt like at first like I was walking into the Twilight Zone. So you have to take a look between Wisconsin and Utah, because Utah, that blew my booties off. With converting to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, one of the biggest sacrifices that you have to make is the culture.
I'm spending money like I just got paid. $100 bills, tell them keep the change. Come on.
The first sacrament meeting was a big culture shock, because the very first thing, because I didn't know anything.
Pop a bottle, about to make it rain. Let me give you something now to celebrate. Come on.
There is a fairly deep culture shock that goes along with becoming a member of the
And
church.
if you're wondering why I move the way I do, I just feel so good.
LDS when I went to my very first ward visit. So I walk in and I see this picture of God the Father and Jesus Christ, and then there's this guy in a white shirt and knickerbockers, and I'm like, he's wearing pants. Like, this is a very...
The following is an episode of WardRadio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to WardRadio. I am your host, Cardinellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by Luke Hansen, as well as by David Boiice, who goes now by Boice on the interwebs. You can get his new album on Spotify and Apple Music. No, I'm just kidding. You look pretty cool with your like hat down like that and a hoodie on, bro. It's pretty sick.
It's the dress code. So when you go to different churches, you need to kind of fit in. So this is my WardRadio fitting in, so to speak, I guess.
Okay, when in Rome.
Yeah.
Right.
When in WardRadio, All right, man. So we got David Boiice in the house here, who's going to be talking to us a little bit about his spiritual journey and some of the culture shock that he's had since he joined the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which is interesting because I'm curious how much of this is Utah shock, culture shock, doctrinal shock, whatever. This is going to be interesting.
That's why I'm wearing my Utah shirt for this.
Oh, boy.
We're repping Utah here.
Yeah, okay. Repping you, the beautiful state, but you're a California. You're a defector.
Well, I'm a Virginian now.
Oh,
yes.
geez, that's
the gentleman from Virginia.
You know what George Washington's from Virginia. We can't say too much about him, right? So anyway, David Boiice, my man, glad to have you here again.
Thanks
Luke,
for having me.
Luke, why don't you just, you're friends with this guy. You brought him to the studio. Just why don't you lead this conversation, ask him the questions. You are our deputized Walter Cronkite. Go.
All right. If you don't know who David Boiice is, this episode's not for you. All right. So, David.
We got to explain what he is. David is a guy.
David was baptized 3 weeks ago.
April 13th.
April 13th,
Yes.
which puts us about 4 weeks ago. Into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
And before getting baptized, he'd had a very popular series on YouTube, 52 Churches in 52 Weeks, where he checked out all 52 churches in 52 weeks and kind of landed with us, which is cool.
We were actually the second round, if you remember. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He didn't even get to us until the second round of 52 churches.
That's true.
But we were chatting before this when we were talking about what we're going to talk about. We have him in studio. And David mentioned something that I think a lot of converts and reverts can sympathize with.
What's a revert?
You reverted. So instead of converted, then you reverted.
Like you went inactive and came back?
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. I just call those people that got, just quit being stupid. But okay, fine.
It's slightly more academic.
Is that like that Uno card that's with the reverse?
Yeah, it's the Uno reverse. Yeah, but it's the revert card. It's
okay,
cool.
Yeah.
So he was saying something that I think a lot of converts and reverts can sympathize with, and that is there is a fairly deep culture shock that goes along with becoming a member of the church. And since you're so fresh into this, and a lot of people have seen your journey online, I think they'd just be kind of interested now that you've been in it for a little bit. You've started to dabble. What are some of those top problems in terms of trying to switch over into being a Latter-day Saint now?
So the top thing, so I come from deep in Wisconsin. So it is, it's the most alcoholic consuming state in the United States.
And we should actually pull up a map of this.
Oh, is this like an actual stat?
No, there's like a heat map.
There's a map, yeah.
Oh, so it's called like what, the booze heat map or what? So U.S. alcohol consumption map. And you're saying your claim is, before I fact check this, that Wisconsin is like numero uno on that one?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Far and away.
Okay.
And I don't think we have to think too hard to think what's
Oh my
number
gosh.
50.
Excessive
There it
drinking
is.
by county.
There it is.
Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, so map shows which counties are highest number of excessive drinkers in the U.S. And dude, I got to tell you, it gets really dark as soon as you get to know.
Right.
Man.
So you have to take a look between Wisconsin and Utah, because Utah, you can tell
White as the driven
it
snow.
is so white.
In more than one way, it's
So-
so white.
Wisconsin obviously is the darkest right there, but if you pull up and go real close, you can see this little white area in Wisconsin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Oh yeah, where the Amish live or what?
that is a lake.
Oh, that's
That's a lake. It's not a real county. But that said, like, I'm sure the fish probably could actually make that. I'm sure they're drinking too. And in the summer with so many people boating, that really should be
It's only
colored
white because
dark.
they have bad data on it.
Oh man, that's brutal. All right, okay, keep going.
So yeah, with converting to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, one of the biggest sacrifices that you have to make is the culture, because I was a huge craft beer drinker. So like I wasn't drinking soft stuff. I was drinking 10%, 11, 12%, just the dark stouts and just anything that was good. It wasn't anything where I'm like trying to, drink too much or by volume. It was more like kind of like wine tasting.
Yeah.
So, you're tasting for notes, you're tasting for flavors, you're trying to see
All the
what kind of
excuses, all the
combinations.
other
Yeah.
excuses the drunks give to
Yeah, this-
satiate their addictions.
Well, there are
Beer
like
connoisseur. Beer connoisseur.
yes, the connoisseurs.
Are you
Right.
like those guys that would go? There's isn't the most expensive beer out there one that's made by the monks in Spain? There's like some monastery in
Okay,
Spain.
so Trappist breweries. So when I did the first 52 churches in 52 weeks, I actually drove out to Spencer, Massachusetts, to St. Joseph's Abbey. So it's the only Trappist brewery in the United States and, this part of the continent. So I wanted to go to church there and just kind of see what the monks did. And so a part of me wanted to see how they kind of brewed beer in this Trappist type of area.
okay.
But I didn't get to talking with any monks, unfortunately, for that. But
So they're called
Yeah.
the Trappist monks,
right.
and that's like, oh my gosh, look at this. Trappist brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
Cistercians of strict observance.
So
Wow,
they usually
okay.
specialize in Belgian beers. So Dubels, Tripels, I can't remember the quads. I just would call them quads.
You could probably say whatever you want, and everybody listening would
Wow,
be like,
look
"Oh,
at
okay."
this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
So these guys, it's like just like the Mandalorian says, "Oh, weapons are my religion." Is it like with these dudes, it's like booze and making the best beer is kind of like part of their
yeah.
part of their thing. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a big part of it too, and the reason that they even got into it is, from hundreds of years ago, the water wasn't safe to drink.
yeah.
So they would have to brew this beer because it was heating up the water. So they weren't getting overly drunk or anything like that.
Yeah, they
But
weren't
it was
getting
just
sauced.
Yeah, it was just something it was a health benefit for them back then during those times.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Interesting.
Okay, so booze, saying no to the bottle.
Say
I
no
get
to
it.
the bottle. Yes.
So was the word of wisdom like nonsensical to you then when you first heard it? Was it like, why in the world? I mean, alcohol and cigarettes is like,
Right.
okay, but then coffee, a lot of people are like, which is why so many people believe that we can't have chocolate.
Right.
They're like, that sounds reasonable
Wait,
if they can't
what?
have.
People say that?
You can't have
yeah.
chocolate?
Oh, yeah.
Who says that?
Well, I've been on college campuses and I was asked that before. I'm assuming that the rumor started with you can't have any caffeine, which is already false. Chocolate has caffeine. Ergo, you cannot have chocolate.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, these people are idiots too. So no.
So were you kind of like, when you heard no coffee,
Yeah.
were you just like, what? Or was it kind of like, okay, I'm going to do whatever they say?
A little bit, because it's just like everyone drinks coffee that I knew of. So to have that removed, because here's the problem. Like I could get, I was able to get off alcohol but because I was kind of like, it was in my head, I'm thinking about maybe converting, but I know the alcohol would be, one of the tricky parts. So as soon as I got away from that, then I started going more towards coffee.
Wow.
It was like the substitute.
Can you quit the accent from Wisconsin, or
No.
does that? No, that one's
No. So in Wisconsin,
I'm just kidding.
we have all kinds of Midwest traditions. So typically, if I bump into someone, I just say "ope." That's the Wisconsin way of.
What's funny is I don't really sense it. Sometimes you sense some people like big time. You can get the regional affectation, but until you told me you're from Wisconsin, I couldn't hear it. But now, every once in a while, it comes out, and I gotta tell you, I love it, bro. It's awesome.
Oh, good.
So,
Well, if the final before we end this interview,
Oh, yeah.
I have to do the Wisconsin whelp. Put both hands on the knees, I suppose, and then we talk for another like 30 minutes to an hour before we actually end the interview. That's
So now we know this has 30 minutes left in the podcast.
Right. So that's the Midwest of saying goodbye.
okay, so wait, but now you weren't necessarily a Wisconsin convert though, because, I mean, how? Okay, wait a second.
Yeah.
So you were traveling all over the world, and it's not like you were kind of pitting the Wisconsin LDS Church against the Wisconsin Presbyterian Church, and then having a little Wisconsin battle here. You were getting a national exposure to all thought strains, right?
As much as I could, as much resources I had available, as much time as I had available.
Okay. And so you get baptized in Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And one of the first things you notice, it's kind of a culture shock, is, man, okay, so we're a dry faith. I mean, you're going from some dudes that are literally keeping alive the tradition of the hops and the good taste and everything, and then other ones
barley.
where when you look up the map, it's like just a giant hole in the map, right? So I could see that being a pretty big culture shock. What else, man? Anything else was a big like a before and after where you're like...
Well, the first sacrament meeting was a big culture shock, because the very first thing, because I didn't know anything about LDS when I went to my very first ward visit. So I walk in and I see this picture of God the Father and Jesus Christ, and then there's this guy in a white shirt and knickerbockers, and I'm like, he's wearing pants. Like, this is a very like religious.
I don't think
painting.
that's John the Baptist.
This is yeah. So it's like I knew nothing. Like
it's like, where's his robe? Are you being disrespectful?
Yeah.
What I mean,
yeah.
Is he gonna wear Crocs next time?
So that was eye opening. But again, like if you don't know anything about it, that's what happens.
So I assume you're talking about this picture here of the first vision, if I'm not mistaken,
That's
right?
the one.
And I got to tell you, this is so funny. So there he is. I never thought of it this way, but you're right. Joseph Smith is in straight up knickerbockers. That's funny. Is that like the Wisconsin word, or is that just like your comedic reference?
It's, what, New York Knicks, New York Knickerbockers, Palmyra. It's like, what? Well, let's go with the original name, Knickerbockers.
All right, dude. I dig it.
We need to bring that back.
Yeah,
I know it's a lot of syllables, but
should we sell Ward Radio merch? We got the Ward Radio shirt.
Yeah,
we should have Ward Radio, Joseph Smith, Knickerbockers.
Yes.
Be prepared for your next first vision by the Ward Radio Knickerbockers,
like
with special coating that can withstand the glory of God.
There you go.
That's funny. Okay, so
alcohol, kind of hard. Coffee, culture shock. Knickerbockers in religious art, kind of a shock. Was there like temples on the walls of some of the pictures of temples on some of them?
I didn't see temples that I recall the very first time, but I do remember sacrament meeting, and this was the first time I ever saw water substituted. Typically is for wine or grape juice. So that was eye-opening.
Dude, what else?
Too.
This is so fun. Like, this is so fun, dude.
So like literally, because you've been to 120 churches? 100?
It's a lot. I've documented over 120, I would think, at this point.
Okay. And no other church has water.
None.
Instead of...
If they do it.
Don't know any others.
Wow.
I don't realize
How many churches would you say do communion every week? Like, out of those 120, I've only seen X amount do.
Well, Catholic, I mean, that is the main event.
Yes.
With the Eucharist.
Although that's only the wafer, right? Generally? They don't have...
No, like they're usually taken from the cup too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's okay. there was a few non-denominational churches I went to. One that really was unique is they actually had like a sign up, or like LED sign, where it basically said, hey, if you want to get communion, it's in the back.
Oh.
So get it whenever you want. So that was a little different.
So it's just
So
it's
usually
like a snack bar.
yeah, it was a little bit like a snack bar. It was.
Did they have a vending
wait.
machine so
Wait,
the priest could just
no,
bless
no,
it all early?
Was
vending
this the one that had like
machines,
the Lunchables? You call them like Lunchable communion, and it was like the top.
Okay.
You open the little wrapper. There's the thing.
So those are featured more in the top mega churches.
Okay.
So because there are so many people, like you have maybe 10,000, 15,000, sometimes 20,000 inside a worship service. If you are giving communion, sometimes they'll do these little plastic cups. And if you're taking it for the first time, you are so confused because it has like this little like thing you have to flip up. So then there's this little tiny wafer inside. And then on top of that, then you have to open it up even further, and then you take the grape juice. So yeah,
So it's like a 2-part package.
right.
thing
It's mass manufactured. So, but if you have
That's
that
kind
many
of
people,
cool. That's actually kind of
Yeah.
sweet.
Wait, do other churches distribute it the way that we do? Because it seems like, from what I can tell, most churches you like walk up and get it.
yeah.
Was it a culture shock, like how we had like little boys that their pants didn't fit right and their ties were like kind of on maybe correctly going around passing
Yeah.
out sacrament? Was
and
that
they're
culture
trying
shock?
out a mullet for the first
Yeah.
time and it ain't working,
Yeah.
you know?
In Wisconsin, like the first time, like there's the wards, they just don't have enough young men
Oh,
to
okay.
usually distribute it. So I don't think that was a big observation. But just, the whole handle and everything, bringing it around. But I do remember like as well, I think one big culture shock was the amount of families together inside the church, because I am so used to, if you go to a church, usually the parents are going to their adult church and the kids are going to their kids' church. It's becoming much more uncommon for families to sit together. So that was eye-opening to me, because
okay.
you're listening to talks and a number of kids are bored. So they are crying. And so one of my observations seeing this the first time was, how do they focus on this talk with so many kids yelling and screaming? So I found it very impressive that people who weren't pastors, who don't do this every week, could stay focused and deliver a really great talk.
All right. Dude, okay.
I know, like, that sounds like something non-denominationals will do, or evangelicals, like, put the kids in another room. Is that even the case for, like, Catholic, Lutheran, kind of these more sacramental high churches?
Not Catholic. Catholic does stay together, but the atmosphere is different.
Wait. The other churches put the kids in another room?
Like, they never have a general church body meeting all together.
Right.
It doesn't
So
happen.
what,
Right.
just just the adults go to the sermon?
Typically, yes. So those are usually the
How do you
more-
train your kids in the faith?
That's more the non-denominational kind of trend that you're seeing right now.
What do they do? Just give them an iPad and say, hey, watch Game of Thrones while mom and dad
I
read
think-
Luke 7
I think
or
it would
what?
be like, I think it'd be like, drop your kids off at primary and you go to sacrament meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How are you going to spiritually feed the up and coming generation if they're not getting exposed to the main event that Sunday is about?
That was one thing that I
Jesus
found very
Christ taught
impressive.
to children and to adults simultaneously. Your pastor can. Oh my gosh, they separate the kids out? No wonder they're all going inactive.
Right. So it's what I was impressed, especially with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, is it set a family example. And that was something that I've been seeing kind of some loose ends in other type of churches.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Okay.
Okay.
This is so cool. Keep
So,
going.
yeah.
Keep asking questions, Luke.
Okay, booze, sacrament, coffee, families. How about temples?
Temples.
Was that like, what in the world are you guys talking about? You have like temples?
No, we don't want to lead the witness, though. We want to hear what he says. I want to hear what he
you're right,
says.
you're right.
Yeah.
We don't want to lead the witness. So,
What other possible things could you have had a culture shock about?
Yeah.
David?
Temples were a big thing.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Wow.
So I didn't quite understand the whole thing, but I eventually learned, okay, you have to be a recommended member to go inside a temple. But I had so many requests to do a temple open house. So the very first time that I got a ticket, I was expecting not many people to be there. Like, I had been to other type of church events, open houses, maybe like for visits and tours, because that happens at some of the bigger ones like Washington National Cathedral in DC. They'll have tours. But when I got to my very first temple open house, I was shocked at just the amount of families and the atmosphere and the amount of smiles that people had. So like, even for me, like going inside the temple for the very first time, I mentioned in my YouTube video about that, it felt like at first like I was walking into the Twilight Zone. It's like I'm going into this sacred, forbidden type of building structure,
Was it like kind of a creepy feeling?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't creepy or anything like that.
Then we're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Then we're not doing it right.
Yeah.
We got to lower the lights.
Right.
Bring in some real torches. None of this light bulb stuff. I want burning torches and like hoods where you can barely see the bottom of their chin and their nose. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Oh,
That's
and the
what you do.
booties. Like, so when you put on the booties, maybe that's what we need.
Oh,
we need
yes.
WardRadio booties
Yeah.
in addition to the WardRadio knickerbockers. So we have the entire closet going on here.
We could put a poll up of like which one the audience demands
Yeah.
more.
Like the booties have to be number one.
That's funny. That is absolutely hilarious. Okay, so I mean, I could talk with you for days, but we're we only got a certain amount of time, right? Anything else that was just a big culture shock for you, where either you noticed it upon starting to take the discussions or starting to take the lessons, or maybe after you got baptized, anything? Of course, I'm sure the shining light of Christ and the Spirit of God that now walks with you, I'm sure was the biggest culture shock. But which I'm sure that's what you were thinking as well, not just I miss booze.
Right.
But no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, what was anything else that comes to mind, man? This is so fun, dude.
I think probably, let's say, so I went to General Conference, as a Protestant at that point, and to see the reverence for the modern day prophet, President Nelson, I had never seen that type of reaction to someone before in my life.
As a Californian, I have to tell you, when I went to BYU, I guess you could call this culture shock, but it wasn't culture shock, but maybe culture awe. That might be a really much better word for it. When I went to my first BYU football game, and everybody's cheering, everybody's screaming, everybody's like, ah! I mean, you have a stadium full of college students, right? And then all of a sudden they say, please join us in a word of prayer. And then all of a sudden everybody a stadium full of people that were just like at the top of their lungs, just cheering for their team. Then just like one of the Cougarettes like walks out, grabs the microphone, right? And then just like the stadium just gets quiet. And the whole time I was thinking, well, some a-hole is going to say like, no Donald Trump or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, this is long before the Trump presidency, but like I was expecting somebody to like scream. Nobody did anything for a whole minute of a lengthy public prayer, not a long one, but not a short one, It wasn't like right before the pizza arrived at the fraternity and, we got to dive in. So we're going to give our obligatory 8-second, prayer over the food. But I remember the whole entire stadium got quiet. And I just remember thinking like, that is cool. That is the power of God on earth. Like to usher in silence out of chaos was just like, that was one of the most profound experiences of my life when it was just like, nothing.
I will ever so slightly revise your sentence and say usher in order out of chaos.
Oh, what did I say?
Well, you said silence out of chaos.
That's
Which
right.
sounds like nothingness out of chaos, but it was ordered. Yes.
Peace out of chaos. There we go.
But we actually, before we go, you had another small little culture shock right as we were getting ready to film this. And I was on the phone and you were like, wait a second. You have kids? Like, yeah, I have 2 kids. You're how old?
Right.
27.
Right.
Apparently that's not like normal.
That's not normal.
In other places.
Yeah. So to see, especially in Utah, to see so many younger families, like that blew my booties off.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. That's I got to tell you, I think if alien sociologists could see our faith from space, especially the early Christians and like, at Lehi's time, Book of Mormon times, so on and so forth, they would have called us a fertility cult, I swear. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think one of the most beautiful things about understanding your first identity is as a child of God, your second identity is as a disciple of Christ, your third identity is a child of the covenant. When you kind of have that amplified perspective and that eternal perspective, you kind of understand that fatherhood really is the most important thing you can do. And though you have other talents and we're all pursuing our careers and our passions and our joys and our loves and so on and so forth, we're not afraid of fatherhood and we welcome it as the blessed, good, awesome, amazing thing that you can do, which means if you're not postponing something and your culture venerates it, then you're probably going to get a lot more of it, which frankly, I think we need to get back. You know what I'm saying? Although you'd think with all of that extra booze in Wisconsin, there'd be a lot of kind of mistake babies floating around. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
No, yeah. You're fessing up to something, dog? Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. All right, awesome. Well, guys, his name is David Boice, but can we start calling you D Boice?
Fine.
Okay, cool. Rock on. Was that just you being nice? Was that Wisconsin nice?
That is Midwest nice.
That's nice. Midwest. So that's secretly, I hate the idea, and I'll never pick up your phone call when you call again.
It's like, fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's funny.
Wait, do you have Bless Your Heart in Wisconsin, or is that more of like a Southern thing?
No. That's a Southern thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Southern.
that's funny. Yeah. Well, David Boice is his name, and
I suppose.
Yeah.
Oh, got to go another 30 minutes now.
30 minutes.
Well, David Boice is his name, and we're gonna have him back in the studio a couple of times. I can tell because this is just so cool and so fun. I got to tell you. Forget going to a fake divinity degree school or getting a theological degree. This guy straight up started a YouTube channel called 52 Churches in 52 Weeks, and he did it twice. This dude has more ecumenical and spiritual and religious experience sitting on his YouTube channel that I think most people do in every textbook written in half of these theological seminaries. So you got to check out his channel. Okay, his name is David Boice. It's 52 Churches in 52 Weeks.
And he is doing another 52 Churches in 52 Weeks, but you are doing it for a good cause.
Yes. So we're going to do a third round. And for this round, I want to focus on bringing unity, bring peace, bring protection.
I love it.
So I'm kind of doing a fundraiser, defeating childhood cancer. So donations will go to Saint Jude Children's Hospital. So I'm super excited for
Rock
this.
on. I'm 100% behind that,
And
baby.
where do they go for those donations?
So if you click on any of my videos that are on this current third round, typically I have a blue thumbnails to differentiate from past church visits. That way you can kind of take a look. And I've been saying, hey, if you want, like with the 5-2 type of increments, if you want to do $5, $2, $52 if you can.
I'm your first $50 right now, dog. St. Jude's is a good institution. My daughter lived at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, and I lived in the cancer wing of the pediatric cancer thing for like 11 months, bro. So I'm telling you. And the month of September, we're going to blow you up, dog. That's Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, baby. So you got a friend of me on that one. So yeah, make sure you guys donate to his good cause, watch his videos, donate to his good cause, and buy a shirt. Support our channel. Make sure you support Ward Radio by getting your cool Ward Radio shirt. And all of you guys out there that have gotten a shirt, please make sure you hit us up on the socials. Let's keep this conversation going in the comments below. For this and more, as always, please check us out at wardradio.com. All right, so this is actually just going to be bonus materials that we do afterwards, bro. Okay, and we'll just keep kind of going on the same subject. Mm-hmm. So...
Meaning that we're still going?
Yeah, we're just still going. We're still recording right now. Uh-huh. Bro, what are you going to do in your third round? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you did the first season of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks, where you visited 52 churches in 52 weeks. Awesome, bravo. Mm-hmm. In the second round of 52 Churches in 52 Weeks, you found the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which ultimately resulted in your baptism. Therein. Okay.
It took a while though. So it was a 2-year process.
Yeah. But it took you 2 years. But either that was season 2, for lack of a better term. And now season 3, you say you want to go back and do another 52 churches in 52 weeks. But you're going to do it kind of in a unifying way, to be kind of ecumenical about this whole thing and raise money for Saint Jude, which I think is a noble cause, right?
Yeah.
But what are you going to do with all the evangelical churches that hate you now because you're Mormon? No, but like, I'm serious. Like, I can't.
We're going to find that out. So for me, like I'm a peacemaker. I'm trying to find, like, maybe I am just super optimistic, but I like to bring, like, Jesus Christ. He's all about healing. He's all about peace.
No,
He's
but
all
you
about
don't
protection.
worship a same Jesus. That's the problem. Like, bro, see, like, I'm this way too, bro. Like, I'm just saying, like, I feel like a kindred spirit here. I'm cranky now because they did this to me. It's a trauma response, okay, here. But like, what do you do when somebody just says, no, we're not the same because you worship a different Jesus?
Oh, that's the $1 million question, it seems like. And it's like, the weird thing from my angle with going to all these different churches is, like, I was seeing no one talks about Jesus Christ more than Latter-day Saint churches. And it's like a big part of my conversion was I was hearing so many testimonies. I was hearing so many people talk about Jesus Christ. Even just away from church, people are talking about Jesus Christ to me. And it was just so much, love and peace and joy and just all these fruits of the heart. So I was seeing Book of Mormon believing churches, it was just translating in a different type of way. And the strange thing is like the Book of Mormon was like a common denominator at those I went to. So it blew my mind. And it's like that just furthered my curiosity and my understanding that I needed to know more about this.
So it's kind of like an actual practical thing for you, huh?
A little bit. I mean, there's a ton of reasons that I can't get into all right now because there's just so many different things, as everything. But yeah, with the fundraiser, it's like, what can we do now? So like a large part of the church visits will be Latter-day Saint type of churches. But I still have a little curiosity. There's other type of church, like I would love to visit the church for Martin Luther King.
Yeah, that's cool. I lived in New York, man. There's a couple. Well, when you say the Church for Martin Luther King, do you mean the denomination that actually gave him his position as pastor, or do you mean certain churches? Because I've been to the black churches that he preached at. Multiple ones in Brooklyn and New York and so on and so forth. That famously,
I believe this one is in Atlanta. So that was one that I wasn't able to visit. There's also some that I'm very curious about that have just that American history. So I want to see maybe some churches that U.S. presidents went to. There's a Church of the Presidents. I'm very curious to see the church that Donald Trump grew up in and Joe Biden, to kind of see what that all looks like.
I bet you there's a lot of gold in the one that Trump grew up in. I bet you I'm
sure the Trump Tower is close.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure it just says, like, instead of like Trump, it's just like Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
It was the best
big
church.
Gold letters, right?
It's the most shiny church you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me.
A Eucharist tastes better than all the other Eucharists. Like, that'd be
really
hilarious.
good.
They're serving Trump wine and Trump steaks. You know what I'm saying? That's hilarious. And then the Joe Biden church, what's that going to be like? Ice cream instead of the Eucharist? They have ice cream.
That would be interesting to see.
And the priest is just like walking around trying to remember where the pulpit is to start the sermon, right?
Like a Roomba.
Yeah, that's hilarious. So you've tracked down the churches that Donald Trump and that Joe Biden grew up in.
Mm-hmm.
So there's hard to track down, or is it just like you do a Google search?
I was doing all kinds of Google searches because I was trying to find out where every single U.S. president went to church. So that was interesting in itself. But there was a part of me that wanted to visit some of these, but it's like, does anyone care about where, William Taft went to church? I don't really think so. I'm not going to focus too much on that.
Yeah, but like, it'd be interesting, JFK famously being Catholic and having to give that.
Because I want to see the history of that.
That would be fascinating.
What was the persecution that he was facing? Because Catholics were being heavily persecuted in the early American history. So to see how that impacted, to see, this is the Pope's way of getting into the United States. Tell me more about the history of that. So if I can sit down in that would be interesting.
Okay, I've
just had a thought of a possibly cool church.
Please.
Do you know if there's a church at Los Alamos where they developed the atomic bomb?
What?
I mean, because they basically like built a city out in the desert to make this atomic bomb, and they wanted to give it like schools and everything so all the families came. So they probably had a church there.
Oh, an abandoned church at Los Alamos.
Like the church scientists were going to while they were building the most destructive weapon in the world. Like that would be quite interesting.
That would be interesting. And the last question here, bro.
Yes.
And I just got to know of all of the churches that you visited, and you may even go back and visit in this third trip of yours. Okay. What was the one that most resembled the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Where you thought, okay, most amount of crossover that was not within the Restorationist movement, like the Bickertonites, obviously, that have the Book of Mormon. What's another one where you're just like, dude, this was a close second? I'm betting Catholicism. To me, it's got to be, because the authoritative question, right?
Yeah, but it's like the whole setting, it just looks so much different with, the building and the structure and the gold and everything like that.
Based.
Okay.
But we are going to do an episode of David Boiice audits LDS church services.
Oh, do you walk around with a clipboard?
I mean, I can. Like, do you have a red marker? Like maybe I could do some grading
and white gloves,
check marks,
just white gloves on the primary. You know what I'm saying? That's
funny. Oh, hey, that's convenient.
There you go.
All right, awesome, cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this, my man. I'm looking forward to seeing this. For this and more, please check us out at WardRadio.com.